Today, guys, I want to take a look at this DeWalt hacksaw that I just bought. It's their 5-in-1. Their model DWHT20547. So when I saw this in the store, I was somewhat intrigued, and I thought, well, let me take a look at this thing. And Lord knows I have plenty of hacksaws that I've bought over the years. But this thing is rather unique in its design and very versatile. So as we look at the hacksaw here, this is just your standard type that you would use. Nothing different. Same configuration of basically anyone that you would buy. If we take a look at the black on here, they're rubberized. The handle, then up front, which is nice because it's got a great gripping. And then here, as you're cutting down, you can, as you push down on the blade and then pick up and push down and pick up, because you should always cut on the down stroke. It has this nice ridge up here to where you can hold on it. Well thought out, so you can put pressure down on it and not slip off with your hand. Very nice. Now the frame construction is very stout, as you can see here. One of the unique things that I saw about this when I was looking at it in the store is how you tension and change the blades. And you would use this area right here, this piece of metal here, holding it, and it is pretty snug. So you want to hold it and then pull back. As you can see, and then pull up, and you see like that cam action there. That pulls and gives leverage, tension on the blade. And then to change the blade, you have this very easy to change tension. Just loosen this up. Then that allows you to pull the blade out of its anchor point. And then to tension the blade, very simply, turn that clockwise. Okay, clockwise meaning this way, counterclockwise this way to loosen it. And then you just feel for the tension. Now that's a little too tight. I'll back it off. And then you've got your tension set. And you're good to go. Very nice design. As shown here, the blade is at a straight 90 degrees. So when you're cutting, the blade is vertical to your cutting surface. And that's using the 2 pins that you see here. As shown here, it's now on a 45. Here's where the blade was setting, and now we have it to where it's on a 45 using the pins on this side. So now when you're cutting into the work, if for some reason you need to, because of constraints with where you're cutting, and you want to cut like this, you can now saw with the handle on a 45-degree angle from the blade surface. So instead of like this, you're now cutting like this. Here, guys, you see we have removed the blade. And by doing that, this simply comes apart like this, allowing other configurations of this same hacksaw. So let's take a look at the main handle here. And as you can see, they've got an extra like sawzall blade that would be in there, and it's got this locking screw there. Now you can take a quarter and loosen it. It is snug initially, and then that allows the stored sawzall blade to come out. And you can also put your normal other blades in here too, your hacksaw blades. Those can be stored in here also like this. And then just simply tighten this down to retain it. So now let's take a look at that sawzall blade and this other part of the handle that used to be in here like this. Okay, we used to have it in here like this. We pull it out. Now we have ourselves another handle, so that ergonomically it's going to sit in here like this. So not only did this aid in using it as a hacksaw if you had your hand up here so it wouldn't slip off, now we've got another tool here. We can use this as a jab saw, and that blade will fit in here. So let's take a look at that. Here's the screw that you have that was in there. If we pull this all the way out, you'll notice how it's got that little tip in there. And that tip will mate up with the hole on your sawzall blade, and there's a taper on the end of that. So what that'll do is actually push up against, capture that blade, keeping it stable and in the handle. So to do this, guys, you want to make sure that you have that out far enough to where that little tab is out out of the way, put your blade all the way back in, and turn it down. And you'll know that it's in there right, because there'll be a minimal amount of gap there, and you'll be able to see from the other side. You can see part of that yellow there, which is the blade, and then the black right there, which is the tip of that tool, which means that it has captured the blade properly and is in there snug. Here's a close-up showing that. Next, let's take a look at this configuration here. As before, we had the hacksaw like this, and the blade was down here. We can now use it like this. So in this configuration, you get a low profile hacksaw. So now you've got yourself a hacksaw that you can use like this. You put the right blade in here, you could use this for trimming branches, small branches and such on your trees. Next, we're going to look at the long reach aspect of this hacksaw. And the fifth of what we're going to show you is the 5-in-1, using the blade out here. So it'll go in here like this. Now, to accomplish this, you've got to take this screw that we have there, that bolt, and we've got to loosen that up. And then we're going to take our blade and we'll just stick it back in here like this. And let me loosen this up, because what you'll have now is you could stick this in here like this, your long reach, and you can tighten this up onto the blade. Plus, you also can tighten this up and you've got yourself a long reach blade if you need to cut something down into somewhere where you need to. Now I would imagine these are flexible blades, so you may not be able to do heavy duty cutting, but if you need to get down in somewhere where it's very limited access, this will now allow you to get down in between like this, using either a wood blade or a metal blade if you had to cut something in a recess somewhere, and you can now accomplish that. Also, I had mentioned earlier that the slot on those two supplied bolts that you get, one on the handle for a jab screw and one on the main body of the hacksaw, that you could use a quarter in the slot to loosen it. You also have a Phillips configuration there. So you could use the quarter. I just said the quarter because if you've got one in your pocket, you can easily loosen that up. You could use a flat blade, or even better, that I would use would be this number 2 Phillips that fits either one of those. That would be the better option that I would use, is the number 2 Phillips. I just mentioned the quarter because it will work. And you can load your blades when this is in its hacksaw configuration. If you have extra blades in there, you don't need to take this apart, the end there, because they'll just slide in this side here. You could put the hacksaw blade from in here, or your sawzall blade. They just load in from the back side, then just simply tighten down the screw that locks them into place. So guys, there you have it. This is a very unique tool. I really like it, and very innovative in its design. So let's see, we have 5 different tools. We have the standard hacksaw, we have it as a low profile hacksaw, we have it as a 45-degree hacksaw. We can also make it a jab saw that uses standard sawzall blades or reciprocating saw blades. And then we have the long reach saw. So very cool, very useful tool. Wish I had this a long time ago. I could see this is very versatile to have in your toolbox.